So let me share screen. That is not the screen I wanted. Hold on. Um, Still not well, maybe all right, hold on. Are you guys seeing anything on my screen? Yes?
Now,
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I am, like I said, personally very excited for this trip. I've had the opportunity to go to India once before, and it was just absolutely incredible. It is definitely a very overwhelming country, and probably one of the best countries suited for group trips because you wouldn't really want to do it on your own. I know people who've done solo travel in India, and I'm super impressed, but I did a group trip in college and loved it. And I think that it's just a great place to be able to go with a group of other folks and have that sort of safety and security in numbers. And also, you just really want a local guide because there's so much history and culture that if you don't have local people to explain it all to you, you're going to miss a lot. Um, so this will be October 31st through November 11th of next year. So we've got a whole 16 months ahead of us to wait. But the reason I actually picked this time of year to run a trip to India is because it coincides with India's Diwali holiday, which is kind of like Thanksgiving and New Year's all wrapped into one, if you're comparing it to an American holiday. So Diwali is actually both Indian New Year and it's also the Festival of Lights. And so families gather together. There's food, there's lights, there's fireworks, there's lots of fire in general. And it's just a really special time to be in India. And we'll have the opportunity to interact with Indian families as they sort of welcome us to prepare part of the New Year tradition that goes along with Diwali. And I just think that if you're going to go learn about a place as rich in culture and history and religion, this is a really good time of year to visit. It's also very pleasant weather-wise. It's always kind of hot in this part of India, but it's not going to be rainy or super, super muggy. It's kind of mid season weather. So, overall, the highlights, we're going to see a lot of temples, Sikh temples, Hindu temples. We will see some mosques and masjids as well. India is a melting pot of religions and cultures. And so we're going to see multiple different cities that all have their own kind of traditions to that region of India, and lots of history, and very beautiful historical palaces and temples. I don't think you can go to India without going to see the Taj Mahal. So we will have the opportunity to see it both in the afternoon, as well as doing a sunrise Taj Mahal experience. We will also go to Ranthambore National Park, which is something that I'm personally super excited for. It's one of the only places in the world that you can see tigers in the wild. And it also has a ton of other really interesting wildlife that does not really exist anywhere else in the world. So we'll spend 2 days on safari there. And then we will have our Diwali celebrations with a local family while we're in the city of Jaipur. And finally, we will end the trip in Mumbai, experiencing a lot more of like the modern cosmopolitan India. So, trip overview, arrivals will be October 31st as the start date, but like with all of our trips, if you want to arrive a day early, that's not going to be an issue. For most folks coming from the US, it's like a 14 to 20-hour flight. So, we understand that, you probably are going to be arriving late at night or early in the morning. You just want to crash that first day. So, you can certainly arrive October 30th if you prefer. You'll get picked up from the airport in New Delhi, and our official kickoff will be a welcome dinner on October 31st. We will then on November 1st, dig into Delhi. Delhi is a massive city, so you could probably spend your whole life living there and not have seen all of it, but we're going to hit the highlights, which is Old Delhi. There's a lot of souks, basically similar to what you'd find in Morocco, these huge spice markets and stalls with vendors selling all sorts of different things. And we're going to combine our walking tour with a street food tasting tour. India is full of delicious, delicious food, and so we'll try lots of different little treats and snacks along the way with our local guide. We'll also visit a few temples during this day and learn about how temples, Sikh and Hindu temples, play a very big part in addressing a lot of the poverty and a lot of the food insecurity that people in India unfortunately experience. And so we'll get to learn about this community kitchen and a nonprofit that this temple runs to help provide food for the families that live in this neighborhood in Delhi. And then we will end the day with a cooking class and dinner. So lots and lots of food opportunities on this first day in Delhi. The second day, we'll sleep in a little bit, and then we will take a train to Agra. In the afternoon, we will have a guided tour of the Agra fort and views out at sunset over the Taj Mahal. And we'll also visit Shiro's Hangout Cafe, which is another nonprofit. It's focused on giving women who have been victims of acid attacks and other domestic violence the opportunity to learn skills and get employment at this cafe slash nonprofit. And so a lot of what I put together for this India trip in particular is focused around supporting female entrepreneurs and sort of women-focused NGOs and nonprofits in India. There are a lot of incredible organizations, and so I'm trying to fit visits into as many of them so that we can spend our money supporting local women. Then we will do our sunrise Taj Mahal visit. You'll have the opportunity if you want to get dressed in a traditional sari, you can do so. And we'll have breakfast at our hotel after sunrise and then drive. It's about 3.5 hours from Agra to Ranthambore, where we will check into our forest lodge. The following day is day one of our safari. Hopefully, we'll have the chance to spot a bunch of tigers, all sorts of different birds, and other wildlife. The hotel, I have a photo of it on the next page. It's a ancient palace that has been converted to a hotel, and so it has this incredible pool and a spa, and similar to most safaris, will sort of do things in the early morning when animals are active, have the full day, midday, afternoon free to enjoy the facilities, and then have another evening safari before dinner. This is a photo of the palace. It has this really big pool, and it's full of all of these really interesting and unique furnishings that are from sort of the pre-British like Mughal Empire. And again, we'll have a second day on safari, lots of free time to relax at the lodge. And then on November 6th, we will head from Ranthambore to the city of Jaipur, which is in the state of Rajasthan. And we'll visit a artisan collective along the way. This is another NGO that supports local artisans, providing them a center where they can sell their different handicrafts and goods. And then when we reach Jaipur, we will have a nice dinner on the rooftop of of our hotel. Oh, that is not a picture of India. Sorry about that. Um, but we will have a temple visit. We'll visit the Amber Fort, which is the big red sandstone fort you often see. We'll have the opportunity to have some women do henna for us, which is the traditional sort of very beautiful painted designs that you can get on your hands and feet. And then finally, we will join a pink rickshaw tour, which is another awesome women's organization which provides women the money to be able to buy a rickshaw and show tourists around. And you'll see that the markets are full of people preparing, buying candles, food, sweets, all sorts of the things that they're going to need for Diwali the following day. And so our female guides in our rickshaws will help us explain what the preparations are for those Diwali holidays. This day is going to be still in Jaipur. The morning we will go visit a few of the other main monuments in the city. And then in the late afternoon, we will go meet with a local family and do the prayers, as well as have a very nice meal with them and celebrate Diwali. So that will be everything in Jaipur. And then from Jaipur, we will actually board an internal flight to Mumbai. We wanted to show a little bit more of the modern India on this trip as well. And so we'll sleep in, fly to Mumbai midday. It's quite a short flight. And then we'll have a high tea experience to get that British colonial history as well at the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel that you see here in this photo. And then on November 10th, we have a full day in Mumbai with a guided tour of the different markets, as well as some of the main shrines and sites in the city, with our farewell dinner that night. And departures on November 11th will be from Mumbai Airport. So, one thing to note on this trip is you're going to be flying into New Delhi and out of Mumbai. You can either book a round trip, and then a internal flight from Mumbai back to New Delhi, or you can book your, tickets into Delhi and out of Mumbai. Um, Pricing. So the price for the 12-day trip is $8,595. That's including your daily breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same as on all of our trips, you have your private room and bathroom. We're staying at really very nice, historic, they're called sort of restored hotels. So trying as much as possible to stay in historical buildings that have been turned into boutique hotels. We will have a female guide with us for the whole time in India, and we're working with a female-owned tour guide company in India. And so we'll have a female guide to provide all of the activities, and then local guides for our safaris and some of the other activities as well. Airport transfers, the domestic flight from Jaipur to Mumbai, and all of your ground transportation are included. All the entrance fees to monuments, museums, parks, the cooking class, and all of the other experiences as well, plus tips for your local guides and drivers. So pretty much everything is included in this trip with the exception of alcohol. There's not a free day, there are free time, but we're not including a full free day because we feel like India's a little chaotic to navigate on your own and figured people would appreciate more guided, structured time with free afternoons and time to rest in the evenings before dinner. And then FAQs. So this is a really nice time of year. Mild temperatures, 60s to 80s. We do recommend bringing a scarf. There are a few times at temples where you'll want to cover your shoulders, and we will have the opportunity to go into one mosque locally, and that would be a time where we would just ask that you cover your hair. So it's worth bringing a scarf. It also, can provide layers if the weather gets a little chilly. There is an e-visa for American citizens, Canadian citizens. It's very simple. You apply online and can get approved within typically 72 hours. If you book the trip, we would provide instructions on how to get that e-visa, typically about 90 days before you travel, once your flights are booked. And that costs around 35 US dollars the last time I checked, and would be an extra not included as part of the trip. Health, there aren't any mandatory vaccines, but there are some recommended shots, in particular typhoid, which is a waterborne disease. We're going to be very careful and providing bottled water um, throughout the trip. You'll also, we recommend not eating ice because you don't know if that's filtered water or not. Um, I managed to spend a month, 5 weeks in India and not actually get sick at all, which people are always like, how did you manage that? But I was just really careful, and we're going to be very careful on this trip. But obviously, India does have a lot of people who do, get a little bit of indigestion and stomach issues. So we'll just make sure that we have plenty of medicine from the US to take care of that, but also it's easy to find a doctor in India. But yeah, I would definitely recommend talking to your doctor before attending this trip in case they do want to encourage you to get any shots, even though there are no mandatory ones. And then currency, it will be the Indian rupee, but credit cards are really quite widely accepted. And you'll be able to get cash out upon arrival at an ATM. And then we will have Wi-Fi available at all of the hotels, but some of the more remote places, or when we're out and about during the day, if you want data, we just recommend getting an eSIM that will work in India. So I will pause there and answer any questions. Go whoever wants to go first, or if I covered everything, great.
My only I don't know question. Everyone I mentioned taking this trip, they're like, "You're gonna get so sick." They're already like in my head with that. Someone like you said she had like one afternoon of discomfort and she used charcoal tablets. I don't know if
Yeah,
that was her thing. So
I would definitely. So I'd always prepare like you're gonna get sick and then be pleasantly surprised. I would definitely get a prescription for Cipro or another type of like basic antibiotic um, from your doctor before you go. If you tell them you're going to India, like they'll be like, please
take it. Yeah.
take medicine, and then bringing Pepto-Bismol or whatever other things you might need to settle your stomach that are over the counter. Um, but I think if you're really careful, I think where people get sick is like ice in particular because it's hot and they want a Coke and they're like, I want ice, and they don't realize that that's not filtered water. So, I think that's probably the number one culprit. And then also eating like when we go on a street food tour, we're not going to be eating anything that's meat or that could have been sitting there and getting cold, right? We're going to be eating like fried bread and things like that that aren't susceptible to carrying um, any sorts of food illness. And so I know people who've, gotten a smoothie or something and the milk, was not necessarily the thing they should be drinking. And so luckily we're staying at really, really nice hotels where that's not going to be an issue for breakfast or anything. But overall, better safe than sorry. Bring antibiotics and whatever else will make you feel comfortable. And then that way you can hopefully be prepared if you do have any days where you're feeling a little ill.
So do you, since we're going to be going to some of the artisan, we had the day where do you recommend a certain dollar amount in rubles that
So,
would be good? Or I
rupees, I
like
mean,
to buy
things
artisan things.
are pretty, well, they're cheaper than they would be in the US, but I will
Right,
say
yeah.
like when you're shopping at a cooperative or a place like that, it's not going to be the cheapest things you can get. But in general, like a lot of the fabric items, so the things, the textiles that you find that people might want from India or like there's hand carved things, those are going to be like the equivalent typically of probably 5 to maybe 25 US dollars. And so I would just plan, ATMs are like widely available. So I might get out the equivalent of like 200 or 300 US dollars when you arrive. And then when we get to Jaipur, which is kind of the halfway point of the trip, if you wanted to get out more rupees, you could. I don't know the exchange rate off the top of my head right now, but it would be like 5 US dollars is I think over 1,000 rupees with the way the exchange rate works, but the bills are like in 200, 500, $1,000 bills, so it's not like you're having to carry stacks of bills.
And they don't make coin change, so you're not.
They do have coins, but they're for like I think it's 10, 20 um rupee coins. And honestly, at a lot of the cooperatives as well, their whole purpose is to serve tourists and help
Oh,
these people sell their goods to visitors. And so a lot of them do take a credit card as well. So if you
oh,
wanted to
okay,
make like a bigger purchase, I think you would find that they would be able to take a credit card,
okay,
at least Visa and MasterCard.
right. And I'm sure you always send out a packing list to assist us with any cultural recommendations as far as female dress. And you did say we were going inside one temple, so we'll have to cover our head. So do they require like, how you have to wear long sleeves and just
It's just keeping typically most of the temples will ask you to just keep your shoulders and
okay.
chest covered. So like a scarf, that you can wrap around works
Mm.
really well. Um
And
I
then we can.
personally would say
Oh,
like keeping my knees covered, and if you wanted to wear a tank top or something, that's fine, but just having a scarf in your bag or something like that so that if you want to cover up a little, you can. Um Overall, like India's kind of like most other developing countries where like you'll see the younger generation wearing, the same stuff that Americans are wearing, and then you'll see plenty of older women still wearing very traditional, kurtas, which are like the long tops that have the flowing pants, or leggings underneath them. So in general, like it's a pretty casual trip, and I would say, pants or skirts will be comfortable. It's not going to be so hot that you're going to want to be wearing, shorts or anything like that. I think the weather should be cool enough that you'd be comfortable in, pants or a long skirt. Definitely bringing a bathing suit because we're going to have really beautiful pools at most of these hotels. And if you want to get in and get a dip, it's worth bringing a swimsuit.
Yeah. The other thing, I've been where if you go inside the temple, you have to remove your shoes.
Yes.
Same.
That
Okay.
is for sure a thing. You can wear socks. So
Right.
if you don't want to go in barefoot, even if you don't want to, say you're wearing sandals that day, like put a pair of socks in your purse, and then you can put socks on before you take your shoes off, to go in a temple. But you do always have to take your shoes off, and that'll be similar for like when we go to, the cooking class, which is in sort of someone's home, we'll be expected to take our shoes off. And similarly for the Diwali celebration in a person's home, you always take your shoes off. So that is going to be on our packing list, is like plenty of pairs of socks that you don't mind wearing. Um,
So if we that day early, I know
Yeah.
we can always make that selection. What time would you like us to be there the first night if we don't
So
come in earlier?
I think, and I haven't looked at flights that recently, but most flights from the US, if you're coming, I know this, Carla, is not that helpful for you from California, but if you're coming from the East Coast of the US,
Yeah.
typically it leaves and it's plus 2 days, and you're gonna leave kind of afternoon, evening, and then plus 2 days, you're gonna arrive pretty afternoon, evening, or even late at night. Like the flight I took, I think I left the US at like 8 p.m. and I arrived in India at like 10 p.m. local time 2 days later.
Okay.
And so that's why the day early would definitely be nice because you could come in, the night of October, um, or you could come in the night before, spend that night, just come into the hotel, sleep, and then the next day you'd have some free time, in the morning before the activity started. If you wanted to even arrive 2 days early, that would be fine. We, don't have an issue with that depending on how flights from California work, because I'm not sure what direction you'd fly. If you'd fly the other way
Up and
or
over or
up and over. Yeah,
down and around.
exactly.
Okay.
Hmm. Any other questions? No? Perfect. Well, for those who haven't been on a trip with us before, the way the process works for signing up is, I'll send an email after this with a link to the registration form, as well as this recording if you want to watch it back at all. And you fill out the registration form, it will generate an email back to you, and that email will have an invoice as well as a link to pay your deposit. It's a $400 deposit to reserve your spot on the trip, and then you'll pay a monthly installment of $400 leading up to the trip, with the final balance being due 30 days in advance of the trip. So in, I guess, November, October, September, August of 2026. So a year, 13 months from now is when the full payment would be due, but you can break that up over months by paying sort of smaller installments. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me back or give me a call. But I'm personally super excited for this trip, and would love to welcome many of you on it. And I look forward to staying in touch.
Well, thanks, Catherine.
Perfect. All right. Have good nights, everybody.
Right.
Okay, you too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.